Check podcasts.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to House Guests. This is the podcast where I bring my guests on that I love and find very interesting and can share with you. You might notice that the studio looks a little bit different today to those that are at home watching us on TV versus just listening to the podcast. I'm actually taking over the Czech studio today. I usually try and film at my house because, I like the beautiful decor and background and kind of fits with my branding as an interior designer. However, doing renovations in my own house, any of you who have been through that know that it hits a point where you kind of get kicked out. It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. So today they're doing the stuccoing, and it was absolutely no chance that I was going to be able to have a quiet moment to spend time with you all at home. So today I am bringing on one of my favorite people, a good friend, John Byrne, who's a realtor with Chris and John at Engel Volker. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be here.
It's been so funny because I've known you for so long. I mean, you've raised and born and all that in Victoria, but I've known you for a long time. I think maybe back to the Canadian Tire days.
Yeah, definitely some humble beginnings for both of us, for sure.
Hey, it builds character. And so often I'll be on a job site and someone's like, oh, I need X and X or like drill bit or, screwdriver. And I'm like, can you just call it by the proper name? I know what you're talking about. I know what Phillips head is. And that's all thanks to Canadian Tire.
Yeah, I was really proud of that job too. It was a humble beginning for sure, and we worked hard, but it was a good place to work.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I remember, I'm not going to say the year because that's really going to date us, but I think I started there. I was making $6.25 an hour, and that was
a good
above
job.
minimum wage. It was a great job. Yeah. I had more dispensable income then than I do now. That's for sure.
Yeah, profit sharing, all that kind of stuff. And
That was great.
met so many great people.
Yeah.
And so on House Guests, we really like to talk about people's stories and how they got to where they are now. Because most people, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think you were a 12-year-old boy who was like, I'm going to become a realtor when I grow up.
No, I don't think any 12-year-old says that actually ever.
I feel like nowadays, because of some of the shows out there, people think it's like a high rolling kind of ritzy game.
Yeah, I tried to be an astronaut and a dentist and a paleontologist and all those things. They didn't quite work out. So like most realtors, it was just a fallback career.
How long have you been in the industry now?
15 years now.
Right. So you've seen a lot of ups and downs in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, been through them all and proud to still be around for sure.
And I think that a lot of your background really adds to what you bring to the table for your clients as well. Because aside from the realty game, you love cars. I remember working with you in the past, you telling me or asking me, how many cars do you think I've owned in my life? And I didn't even come close.
Yeah, that's a bit of a strange addiction for me for sure. I've slowed down a little, but it's definitely like 45 or 50 or something like that now. So it's getting up there.
And that was just something that you started when you were young. You just loved them forever.
Yeah. I remember actually when I was probably 16 or 17 having too many uninsured vehicles on my parents' lot, and we actually got a bylaw infraction for it. So It started early.
Yeah. That's true. And then you also are very interested in the side of renovations and all of that, which probably plays even before you're a realtor into that side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly a passion of mine and has been for many years now. I love the real estate investment side of things. I really enjoy the renovations and just sharing my own personal experiences with clients too.
Yeah, and I think that's very important. Like I sort of touched on it at the beginning of the show, but I've probably done, oh man, upwards of 200 builds, renovations, all of that kind of stuff. But until you've done one for yourself, lived in it, gone through it, it's a totally different experience.
Yeah, you got to make those mistakes to be able to give advice for sure.
Absolutely. And even I think doing that really makes you appreciate the experts out there and getting advice from other people and all of that.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
One of the other things, viewers, you might remember John's face and be well aware of where you know him from. But we also did a TV show together on Check 10 years ago now, I want to say. I think this is the 10-year
Yeah.
anniversary of Design District. We did 2 series of Design District, and John was on that show with me.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, Amy. It really was, and it is hard to believe that's 10 years, but I guess that's what it
We
is.
were just babies then.
Just babies, just babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really got the mindset for me for design and even investment properties too was something that really got those juices flowing back then for me and continued to do so ever since.
Well, it was really cool because was that your first investment property that we actually aired on the show?
It was, yeah, it was that one house, and since then we've bought numerous ones and gone through lots of highs and lows, and it's been a really exciting process for sure.
Well, it was funny when we were doing the auditions for that show, you had sent in an audition tape. And I think we were looking for a realtor and a renovator or contractor at that time. And we loved you so much, like in the renovation role as the contractor, that we were like, can you kind of just like muddy your role a little bit and like let's pretend that you're taking on the contractor side a bit, but you're still a realtor. And you just explained everything so well to the viewers, and you really or do that with your clients as well. Like, you really take any questions out and can kind of explain it easily to them.
For sure, for sure. Not mean to toot my horn too much, but you kind of got to walk the walk before you can talk the talk. And
It's true.
so, having a lot of personal experience has really helped to people to guide people through that process for sure.
Because it really is, whether you're doing a renovation, buying a house, selling a house, any of those things, it's one of those things where you have to manage it from the start to the end and handhold through it because some people haven't been through it before, or it's just so overwhelming of a process.
Yeah, well, it's overwhelming of the process for even for those who are experienced too. I mean, we all still make mistakes or strive to do something different or better the next time around for sure.
Things have changed in the industry so much over the last few years and are continuing to change right now. And I think that that's whether you've done it before or not, that is something to navigate as well.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm sure you've talked about it quite a bit on this show, but very difficult in the last couple of years to manage your own renovation. Managing trades when there is none,
Mhm.
uh, cost overruns, et cetera. It's very difficult.
And talking about that, what are you seeing now when you're going to when you're going to a listing appointment? Do you have people asking you still, like, should I do a renovation before I sell? Should I do a lipstick job? Should we stage, or should I literally just throw it on the market because it'll sell in 2 days, kind of thing?
Yeah, number one question, and if people don't ask me it, they really should,
Hmm.
because there's certainly it's a case by case scenario. But my general advice is that you don't need to spend any money. Spending a dollar sometimes will only net you 75 cents.
Right.
But there is things that you absolutely can do to improve the curb appeal inside and out of your house. And paint and staging, things like that are really important. But I usually don't recommend ripping out a kitchen just to sell it.
And I think too, I guess it really depends on the actual property, but sometimes you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot when you do that because myself, I want to be able to put my mark on a house. I don't want to pay for somebody's lipstick job that is totally off base when
Yeah.
they wouldn't have had to do it anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone's got different tastes.
Yes.
My own mother puts thousands of dollars into beautiful Brazilian cherry wood flooring in her home, and
Right.
it really looked lovely. And we went to sell it, and the buyer came in and put carpet over the whole thing.
Wow.
So you just never know where you're spending your money, and generally your taste may not be the same as that next person that comes in.
Mhm.
But there is some basic things, of course, that everybody does like, clean, bright, light, those kind of things. So it is important to look at each situation.
And making sure that the house looks like it's been, or that it actually has been well taken care of. If something looks like it's been neglected, then people will probably start to raise questions.
Absolutely, the deferred maintenance is number one to take care of. So, as simple as mowing the lawn, getting the moss off the roof. It's that first impression. Um, And then coming in, you see the caulking missing on the baseboards. That's another common one. Things that really stand out to the eye as you walk through as a buyer. And these are all things that a homeowner, myself included, you walk by it 1,000 times and you never see it anymore until you have that
Absolutely.
fresh set of eyes that comes through.
Yes. And things have changed a lot in the industry too, in the sense that I think a lot of people, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're still doing the unconditional offers and such. So normally you would bring in an inspector to come and look over all those things that maybe are in the crawl space, attic, or structural that we don't really necessarily know about just from looking at it. But I've experienced where some people aren't even getting inspections. What would you recommend about
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, this is a great topic, and this could be a whole nother podcast for sure. I do love this conversation, and yes, in the last 20 months, we have seen a lot of unconditional offers. But um, I want to make it really clear, though, an unconditional offer doesn't mean that you haven't done your due diligence up front.
Right. Okay.
So sometimes, and often, we're having a delayed offer situation where offers may be presented in a few days from now. So during that period of time, that's when we really have to hustle and
Mhm.
we have to make sure that we fulfill all those conditions. And sometimes that means hiring a home inspector in advance.
Right.
If there's no time to hire a home inspector and check that out, that certainly is a gamble. But it is really important to realize that no matter how nice a home may look, they all require something,
Mhm.
and you have to build that into your budget. So
Right.
you can't pay your tippy top price and leave nothing left over, assuming your house is going to be perfect. It doesn't matter where it is.
Yes.
So it's a calculated risk, and it's one that can be managed properly. And I think, honestly, I think the industry as a whole and the media has been blowing the unconditional offer scenario up a little bit too much. It's
Mhm.
not quite as scary as people may think. You
Right.
can go into it with an educated purchase, and you can do your due diligence in advance still, but you have to know what you're looking for, and you have to have those contacts, and you have to be ready to act really quickly.
And how do people who just can't do unconditional offers, like whether they're first time home buyer or a lot of people need financing, those sorts of things, how do they compete in the market right now?
Extremely difficult. Earlier this year, I set a new personal record for one of the listings I had, and we had 29 offers on it. So
That's crazy.
uh, there's 28 losers in that scenario, which is terrible. So
Mhm.
how do you compete? A lot of times you can't compete. It is
Right.
very difficult. But the best advice is just to be really, really well prepared.
Right.
Work with the competent professionals. Have a team behind you. Have that the realtor, the mortgage broker, the home inspector, um, whoever it may be, and have them all ready to go. I've done first showings, and we brought along a home inspector with us at the time.
Well, that's smart.
So you have to be really, really prepared, and you can't just start your journey and expect to wade into a market like it's been and be successful. So those of us that are successful, and those buyers who've been successful in the last couple of years, generally are very well prepared.
And I found when we were looking for a home and such is that, it's not the same as it used to be. It used to be you'd put in an offer and the seller would come back with their, negotiating a bit, I
Mhm.
guess is what I'm talking about here. And I find that doesn't happen anymore. Like you said, it might not be 29 other offers, but you're at least throwing something into the ring and see if it'll work. And that's your last chance sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's different for every scenario for sure.
Mhm.
But it's what you're describing. There's obviously a seller's market, and when there's a
Right.
seller's market, the buyer has no room for negotiation.
Right.
It's more of a please pick me,
Yeah.
and I will do everything that you ask for you to pick me to purchase your house.
Right.
Now, in the past couple of weeks, we certainly have started to see a shift more towards balanced market conditions, and I don't quite want to use that word balanced yet,
Right.
but we are seeing a shift for
Mhm.
sure.
And is that shift mostly happening in a particular price point, or is it right across the board?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we always see that middle price point, and it's hard for me to even say that, but $1 million range is actually kind of a mid range right now
Yeah.
in our city,
Mhm.
and that will probably stay hot for a little while. But we are seeing the market recede a little bit at the higher end. in the outlying areas too. It is receding in a little bit.
There's a lot of scared people as to what's going to be coming down the pipeline, what's happening. Will they be able to afford a house or their mortgages and such? What's your answer for that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of it just comes from misinformation. It also comes from the expectation that we're all going to make money like the stock market, and it's just going to go up and down, up and down. But housing is not a and shouldn't be viewed as a short-term investment,
Right.
and it is a long-term play. And if you look at any historical price graphs and HPI indexes, real estate is a safe longer-term investment. And if anybody comes to me and says, "Well, I want to make money in 6 months," well, there's only certain markets where you can actually do that,
Yeah.
and that's not something I would recommend playing. That's more of a day trader type activity, and not something you should be doing with real estate.
I know, and I think that for the public, it's somewhat deceiving because of TV shows and things like that, where they have a completely different market, say down in the States or even
Mhm.
other areas in Canada, and maybe flipping is still possible, but it's pretty risky here.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely is. I think it's risky anywhere, but it certainly looks great on TV when people make all that money and then they want to do it themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And just even seeing the real budgets and such, though, with delays, labor shortages, and then just rising costs, anything with renovations is so expensive right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just the minutest shift in the market, if our market shifts 5%, I could go either way to a big win or a big loss.
Mhm.
So uh, when you're playing with that kind of money, it is daunting, and you really got to know what you're doing.
Well, and that's a good segue, I guess, because I wanted to bring this up. I have a lot of friends that are realtors, obviously yourself included. And I feel like I'm constantly defending realtors to people. They're like, oh, you guys have such easy money. You're out there, $1 million listings right now. They're just selling themselves. What would you say to that? How would you defend
Well,
or
first of all,
educate?
I appreciate that you're in our corner, Amy, and we do need you.
I see you guys working on Christmas morning. Like,
Yeah,
that's not for
absolutely,
me. Are you kidding me?
absolutely. And I wouldn't be in this business unless it was treating me well, and I really do enjoy it. Um, and I did have that mindset, 15 years ago when I came in. I thought, man, this could be great. This could be amazing. And it was a grind for the first couple of years to get myself set up.
Mhm.
And just because we're in a rising hot market doesn't mean realtors are all making a whole bunch of money. When I shared that example of the multiple offer situation with 28 losers,
Yeah.
that's 28 agents who have spent a lot of time working with a buyer, coaching them through the offer process and going through the due diligence period
Mhm.
to not get a paycheck out of it at all.
And it's probably
So
not the first one they would have put an offer on. They're probably losing out
absolutely.
on multiple ones.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We can make a very good income for sure,
Mhm.
and those of us who built up a solid client database and have a good reputation certainly can. But it can take years to create that, and it is not a license to print money.
No, and I think a lot of the young realtors that are coming into the industry now as well maybe have that preconceived notion and that really you've been
Mhm.
plugging away at this for 15 years and have built your business to where it is.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and perhaps we're all guilty of it, but real estate is an image based
Mhm. Yes.
career too.
Yeah.
And we all want to show off all the flashy houses we have and the flashy clothes and the cars we can't afford, and we
Yeah.
put it all over social media. And then it almost gives a bad reputation to an industry that's actually has to work very hard to be able to obtain all those things.
Absolutely. But I think a lot of the public, that's not who they want to be working with, anyways, right? It really is a real relationship with you and your clients, and it has to be a great fit with someone that they trust and can relate to.
Very much so. In Victoria, there is 1,400 realtors in Victoria.
Just
So
crazy.
uh, it is crazy. When I first meet a client, I want to let them know that I want to work with them only if they want to work with me. And if we're not going to be a good fit together, then there is 1,399 other great agents out there,
Yeah.
and there's no excuse to work with someone who you don't feel
No.
comfortable taking advice from.
Yes.
And that's one of the great things about this industry is that there's lots of buyers, there's lots of sellers, lots of agents, and it's just about working with people that are like-minded individuals and who you can connect with.
Exactly. It has to be an experience that they feel good about and that they trust the process.
Absolutely, for sure, yeah.
So, before we go, because this has been a lot of talk about the market and all of that, how do you balance this with your home life, the work life, the home life? Where's the balance?
It's terrible. Thank you for asking.
Right. Yeah.
I think it starts with having a very understanding family, and in my case, my wife and kids, they've uh, they've been extremely supportive and
Yes.
understanding that it's not your typical 9 to 5 job. And I'll be the first to admit that I've gone through a few times in my career where I've been close to a burnout,
Right.
and one of the things that's really saved me is building a successful partnership where we can have some work life balance.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be okay that when you're having a family dinner or celebrating an occasion that
Mhm.
you have to be answering your phone.
No.
And so I understand that it is important that when that phone rings, someone needs to answer it.
Right.
Someone needs to deal with a situation that is probably very time sensitive. And so for myself, having a fantastic partner, Chris,
Mhm.
shout out to you, and a team behind me that can really support each other
Mhm.
when we need it is really really important, and that creates that work life balance. Because no one's doing their best work if you've had 28 days in a row without a day off and you're just burnt out. So
Absolutely.
it is nice to sit on the bench for a few minutes and get your legs
Mhm.
and come back a lot fresher on your next shift, and it's beneficial for everybody.
That's an amazing take on it. I want to thank you so much for being here with us today, John. Where can the viewers and listeners find you?
Really easy, chrisandjohn.ca. Love to hear from you, and thank you very much for having me today, Amy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for watching Amy McGeachy's House Guests. You can watch more episodes on Check's streaming app, Check Plus. You can also subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll see you next time.